Deadlock is still in alpha development, so there's still a ton of changes the devs will make before the game gets fully released. Things like adding more heroes, fleshing out the map, adding more play modes, adding a shop so they can actually make money off this thing. You get the idea. These are obvious additions that any AAA title would make to finish their game. In this video, I'd like to discuss something a bit different. Quality of life changes. The small, nuanced changes that would drastically improve the player experience. Disclaimer that these are my own subjective opinions. I don't claim to know better than the devs, and for all I know, they plan on changing these things anyway. Minimap display icon. Currently there's no indicator on the minimap icons showing the health of allies and enemies. So if I want to help an ally in a fight, I have to check the location on the minimap, then look at the top bar and find the relevant heroes, then decide whether it's worthwhile to fight. All the while, I have to be piloting my own character through terrain. Of course, you could say skill issue, but something like this could definitely be streamlined in my opinion. Just adding a thin ring around everyone's icon on the minimap showing their health status could help. This way you could determine how a fight is unfolding without having to look between the minimap and the top bar constantly. This problem is particularly annoying after laning phase because the icons on the minimap no longer match up with the icons on the top bar. This problem is pretty unique to Deadlock because in other MOBAs you can just click on the area of the map and see exactly what's happening. So I think this solution would help a lot in filling that game knowledge gap. Overhead health indicator. I find the current way health appears above heroes to be cluttered and a bit confusing, especially the way missing health is represented. Currently, health is displayed like a Zelda game. More little boxes equals more health points, and after a certain amount, these boxes stack. Then missing health is displayed by graying out the little boxes line by line. This is a decent way to display health, but I think the way missing health is shown could be improved drastically. Instead of being detracted horizontally, line by line, the health could be detracted vertically, then move right to left. If the missing health was displayed this way, you could identify percentage health of what the enemy or ally has much easier. This would make the above head health pool look more like a single bar that just gets thicker with additional lines. Everyone knows what 50% looks like on a single bar. When you start adding multiple bars and partial bars, it becomes harder to identify quickly. Of course, there is a pop-up that shows the enemy health when you damage them, and the enemy health is always displayed on the top bar. But the former doesn't help if you're trying to one-shot an enemy with something like Great Talon Owl. And the latter is inconvenient if you're in the heat of a fight and trying to execute someone quickly. Base design. I think the bases could be more defense favored. The game is already extremely snowbally, especially at high MMRs. The base design should feel a bit more friendly for the defending team. One of the big things I think they should change is the pit to spawn entrances. Those are the little holes below the pit that go back up into your base. The way it's currently designed seems like more of a trap than anything else. It just feels incredibly bad when you're getting stomped, just barely make it back to spawn, then can't make that last double jump to actually get inside, so you die right there in the pit. Of course, this is also ultimately a skill issue, because you could just plan for that need for one more stamina. But still, I believe it can be improved. I think it'd be a welcome change to many players. Maybe give defenders a free stamina point or anti-gravity in this area. Or maybe just make it a ramp. Quick correction here, they actually just changed this in the last patch. There's actually now a small step, so you don't need a stamina to get into your base, you can just vault in. The side corridors out of the base into the lanes should definitely be changed. Currently, they provide limited to no utility. The field of view out of them is extremely narrow and doesn't necessarily even give you an angle on enemies attacking your base guardians. Base design is a whole topic of its own, and I wouldn't be surprised if they plan on revamping the whole thing. Regardless, I think these changes would be a great start. Comeback mechanics. This one is pretty big and might be the most controversial. Right now, it feels like most games are fairly snowbally. This might vary a lot between MMRs, but it seems like if a team knows what they're doing, they can snowball a lead into a victory pretty easily. Oftentimes, it doesn't seem like there's much the other team can even do, besides maybe keeping up their soul farm and trying not to take fights. Adding an additional comeback mechanic besides bounties could help remedy this. They could use the existing unsecured souls mechanic, for example. Maybe if you're ahead by a certain amount, it slows the rate at which your unsecured souls become secured. This could be a subtle change to help the losing team and raise the stakes for deaths for the team that's ahead. Even displaying bounties on the top bar to further incentivize hunting down fed players could help a bit. There's a ton of different directions they could go with this, but I think having a few extra comeback mechanics in the game could help people stay engaged and not giving up. Even the previous point about improving the base to be more defense-friendly could help with this. Secondary keybinds. This is a pretty small one. I just want the ability to have secondary keybinds for things like melee and parry. Certain characters like to melee a lot, so I just want a secondary bind on my mouse for when I'm playing those characters. Of course, I'm alright with limitations on this, like not allowing for a secondary keybind for jump on scroll wheel so people can't break the game with b-hop tech. Crosshair Preview. I'm not sure why this hasn't already been added, but at a minimum we need a preview of what our crosshair looks like in the settings tab. Just something to look at while you're customizing your crosshair, but they could honestly improve all the crosshair options. There's probably more to it than I know, but I think this would be pretty straightforward to implement. You shouldn't have to use a third-party Steam app just to have a decent crosshair. That's all for now. Let me know what you think of these suggestions and if you have any of your own. And let me know if you have any thoughts on what I should talk about next. Be sure to like and sub if you like this kind of content. Thanks for watching.